All right, there we go. So we're here. This is Dr. Life, Shine Dr. Life, lifeguard, the life guardian in the business of saving lives. First responder, responding to man-made disasters. Talking to my firstborn about flipping the inequality gaps. Here's an example. The inequality gaps. Man-made disaster that we addressing is the inequality, the artificial separation between the haves and the have-nots, and the suffering that the people who have not go through as a result of the inequality gap.
And delay. 100 years of delay have passed since President Lincoln freed the slaves, yet their heirs, their grandsons, are not fully freed. They are not yet freed from the bonds of injustice. They are not yet freed from social and economic oppression. And this nation, for all its hopes and all its boasts, will not be fully free until all its citizens are free. This is one country. It has become one country because all of us and all the people who came here had an equal chance to develop their talents. We cannot say to 10% of the population that you can't have that right. That your children can't have the chance to develop whatever talents they have. That the only way that
All right, so we have something that I've called the Laish pride. The Laish pride. So the pride represents the family of lions. You know, the lion is the king of the jungle. Laish pride. So Laish simply means royalty. Alright? The etymology of the name Laish. The name Laish is the same as a noun. Laish meaning lion. So it's the greatest of it's the most royal lion pride that can be found. Laish. In Arabic, a comparable root means to be strong. The king of the lions. The strongest of the lions is Laish. So the Laish pride is the strongest king of all of the kings of the jungle. Got it? So this also, these definitions are coming from a kingdom found in the Word of God. There was a kingdom called Laish that was the greatest of the kings, of the Nubian kings. It was the strongest of those Nubian kings in that area. And so it had earned the title of Laish. It's found in Judges 18:7 and Judges 18:27 and 29. And it says, the Sidonians who lived in peace and isolation until Dan came and waged war against them. So once again, Anachio. Anachio was the king of the Sidonians who lived there and lived in peace until Dan, that's the tribe of Israel, came to wage war against Laish. Now this is the same Dan, the same tribe that rebelled and went to war against King David and divided Israel between the 10 tribes of the north and the 2 tribes of the south, that Jerusalem and Benjamin stayed loyal to David. This same Dan is synonymous and symbolic of the roaring lion, the fallen lion who seeks to devour. He went to wait. This same tribe led the people in war against the kingdom of Laish and the kingdom of Jerusalem. Remember, we're talking about royal priesthood and common priesthood. Salem is the royal pride, and Jerusalem was the common pride. Common because when they came out of Egypt, like I said, when they were originally given the 10 Commandments, there was a mixed multitude of Egyptians who formerly worshipped all of the gods of Egypt, who were now being introduced to the God of Israel, along with the children of Israel who had become common in their worship to the gods of Egypt, who now had to be reintroduced to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who said, "Tell Pharaoh to let my people go so that they can worship me." We're establishing a royal priesthood, a royal covenant, and a common priesthood and a common covenant. God himself established it by calling himself the high priest, the king of Salem, the king of righteousness, after the order of Melchizedek. King of Salem, king of righteousness, high priest. So he's a king and a high priest of Salem, which is the royal priesthood. No mixed multitude. That's why he said king of righteousness. So this is showing you God is going to save from the uttermost, from the royal to the guttermost, to the common. Alright? So, Laish, ex-Laish pride. So, you have the lion from the tribe of Judah and the lion from the pride of Laish. Royal and common pride. Alright? So, I'm saying this to establish long before there was any subjugation, before there was any slavery, bondage, the Sidonians, who we said was the king of Laish. The Sidonians are sons of Cush. Ham is a son of Cush. So when it says Abraham was grafted in, or Israel was grafted in, I am the vine, you are the branches, grafted in, I'm letting you know that there is a historical record. There is a historical record of the African Nubian being rooted in the everlasting covenant, falling under the blessings of the everlasting covenant. And only when all of humanity got separated from that heritage did humanity suffer inhumanity, injustice, inequality, slavery, and bondage. Because that covenant is a covenant of just laws and governance under the blessings of the covenant. Then there was a separate kingdom called Babylon, who wrote the very first conflicting and counter laws and system of exchange, system of economic exchange based off of subjugation, bondage, conquering, conquest, and enslaving other nations around. Nimrod and Babylon was the first kingdom to do what Dan did to Laish. Nimrod and Babylon, and Nimrod's grandson Hammurabi wrote the very first laws which documented how, when another nation and kingdom was subjugated, how goods were to be exchanged, establish the economy, all of that. This is the historical record coming from ancient days in African civilization. You had righteous, just, harmony with your fellow man, living in peace and isolation under the blessing of the resources that God gave you. And then you have an outside invading force who wants that which you have been given and blessed with. And they want to take it by force and subjugate you and force you and all those in your nation to be the economic engine. That's what the Hammurabi Codes did. It wrote laws that said, okay, when I enslave you, it established a minimum wage. It established the Western injustice system, court system, everything, monetary system, debt, everything, banking, everything. It established everything based off of unjust robbery and inhumanity. So that's the system. That's the system that we are turning the tables on. That's the system that we've been given the ability to reestablish the harmony of being an ex-Laish pride. X marks the spot. Ex-Laish pride, where we return back to that covenant, to those blessings, to being off in isolation underneath the blessings. All right? Let's establish what this thing called inequality looks like. Present day. Let's see what inequality looks like today.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
All right, so I already showed you one American hero that put their life on the line to turn the tables on inequality. The first video I showed you was John F. Kennedy, who said it's not right to tell 10% of the population and you do not have the right to develop your skills and abilities. This is what John F. Kennedy said. And then he took measures to implement a new system of currency, literally. A silver coin was minted and he reestablished this. The greenback dollar that Abraham Lincoln established. Because Abraham Lincoln's greenback in 1865 was so successful in injecting wealth into the common people's pocket that JFK wanted to do it in the 60s, and he was assassinated for it. Now here Martin Luther King. Now here Martin Luther King. He had done all of the bus boycotts. He had done all of the sit-ins. Once he got the Civil Rights Act passed, 1964, and then he realized they wanted to address voting rights. They wanted to address and integrate the businesses and all of that, and that was cool. But he like all of that does nothing to address the income inequality. And the moment after the Civil Rights Act was signed, and he turned to turning the tables on income inequality, you just heard him. He was talking about the New Deal, where at the presidential level now, Franklin Delano Roosevelt put in a New Deal where they had land grants and they gave massive acreage of land all over the country and enticed people to move west and take possession of the land. Then they created, well, like he said, land grant colleges to train the people how to farm. Listen, I told you that the goal of us getting involved with dropout prevention was not just to keep people in school, but every program we've done was to, with the lifeguard training thing, there are jobs all throughout the summer for people to go and be lifeguards. But if you aren't trained, if you don't have the skill and the certification to guard lives at the pool, you can't get that money. So here it is at the presidential level, the federal government saying they understand that they know unless you teach people a skill, not just give them a bunch of information and give them a degree and tell them, okay, we educated you. If you don't sit people down and give them a skill, I'm gonna entice you to come out of the city and go west and give you a plot of land that you've never farmed before. You are a factory worker in the East. You know nothing about farming unless I give you the skill of how to farm the land, and they put billions of dollars into a land grant college to teach them how to farm. Then they subsidized, meaning they gave them corporate welfare. When they're talking about how they give the rich money, they change the name to subsidy. Y'all need to understand. But then they come and talk about poor people on welfare. They use the negative word welfare when they give money to poor people, but they use the positive word in their community called subsidy when they do the same thing to rich people. That's injustice. And that the subsidies were so they could take out low to no interest loans on the equipment that they needed, because it don't matter if you got a land and now you got skills to farm, but you don't have the equipment, the tractors, you don't have the seed planting, you don't have any of that. This was a massive corporate bailout, infusion of capital that they did only to Europeans. Mind you, at the same, since 1865, you had people who they claimed they emancipated in the South, who all they knew how to do was pick cotton. You had millions and millions and millions of people of color who wanted to migrate from the South to the North. Migrate anywhere in America. From 1865 to the 1950s, 100 years later, FDR is handing out land grant colleges. None of the millions of people of color. Now, I ain't just talking about African Americans. I'm talking about the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mexican Americans, all excluded from the land grant college, all excluded from the New Deal. These individuals had all fought in World War I and II. You had some families who both generations had fathers and sons fight in World War I and World War II, people of color who were excluded from the New Deal. So-called American patriots who came back, still frowned upon, looked down upon. The inequality that I'm about to show you that exists today has all been manufactured because no one has invested in the gap that has been created. And Dr. Martin Luther King, when he started shining attention on saying we need to invest in the gap, they assassinated him just like they assassinated JFK. This is a pattern. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated when he printed the greenback and bypassed the Federal Reserve banking system, then shut down that banking system. They assassinated him, put a new president in. The first order on the agenda was to put in a new Federal Reserve. And they got it done. inequality has been manufactured. And if Americans don't deliberately go about investing in the gap, investing in the difference, it doesn't matter how much you educate, it doesn't matter how much you try and utilize the political system. Only an infusion and a direct, deliberate, sustained, long-term investment will flip this inequality gap. And we've been investing in these skills and these people, just like they've been investing in the skills. All we need is the community to come out and support the investment. The blueprint is obvious. Skill development will help people make a transformation. This is what he's pointing out. There could have been no gold rush. There could have been no transcontinental railroad across America and people leaving the East and migrating west to populate all of the towns that they sprung up around the railroad if they did not train these people how to live and have the skills to live off the land in a new environment.
Well, wait a minute. It didn't disappear. You might forget Martin Luther King was assassinated in April. The Poor People's Campaign was supposed to go to Washington in April. So the organization that mobilized it was essentially decapitated and thrown into chaos about 3 weeks before it was supposed to happen. Those organizations were being, as I said, once the Civil Rights Acts were completed, that was it. The government was through with us. They're not interested in restructuring. There has never been any interest in restructuring the economy for the benefit of the poor. I don't know what you're going to talk about. The bonus? Army? Go back to Shade's Rebellion? I mean, this is like the no-no. You know, this is a capitalist society. It's built on inequality and avarice in many ways.
I want to give you all an idea of how much money is laying dormant, going to waste in our communities. Let me give you an idea.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare.
Study of the speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King from the last two years of his life. This is a study of the speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King during the last 2 years of his life. He wasn't assassinated because he had a dream. He was assassinated because he woke up, is what this says. He wasn't assassinated because he had a dream. He was assassinated because he woke up. Notice he ain't speaking with fire and brimstone. He's speaking like he's realized that they was using him to get the Civil Rights Act and all of the things that they wanted out of being able to say that they have made people of color equal without making the investment to making them whole and truly equal. And so he's come to that realization that there is an inequality gap and that he has to switch focus in order to really make the people whole. Watch how much money he gonna show is sitting in our communities.
Now the other thing that
as we've got to come to see now that many of us didn't see too well during the last 10 years. That is that racism
Not guilty.
is still alive in American society, much more widespread.
A handful of protesters, a handful of criminals and thugs who...
Many in moments of anger, many in moments of deep bitterness, engaged in riots. As long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and...
All right, so prophetically, he letting y'all know all of those cats who was wrong, like Malcolm X, who started off wrong and realized he was wrong. All of those cats to this day, he told you, listen, if you don't address the income inequality, if the country goes along with the charade that they just pulled off with the New Deal and with the Civil Rights Acts, the appearance of equality but denying the power thereof, the appearance of freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness but denying the power, the economic power thereof. He said you will always have Black Lives Matter. You will always have the riots. What do you have today? That. Why? Because you are reacting to a symptom. You're treating the riots are a symptom of the root of the economic inequality. It don't take guns. It don't take force. It don't take none of that. All it takes is you stop chasing the cheese of the Western slave system. Stop being a rat, chasing the cheese, getting your neck in the noose, and then mad because your neck is in the trap. Why is you chasing cheese when the Creator created the welcome table feast that you could create over and over for generation after generation and pass down for generation after generation? But you want to keep allowing your children to buy into the image that Hollywood has created for them. And then go and riot and be mad? Nah. Invest in skill development. Like we have been for the past 21 years. Bypassing the debt slavery of the banks. We already had the system in place. The programs are already in place. It's a existing exchange.
Progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
Mr. Gray's death was a homicide.
The Negro was freed from the bondage of physical slavery.
The athletes marched onto a stage.
But at the same time, the nation refused to give him land.
The slave was freed from the bonds of slavery, yet the nation refused to give him land. And he cuts from the slave stepping up on the auction block to the athlete stepping up on the combine block. There is no greater system of slavery. There is no greater perpetuation of the Roman circus. The gladiators in the circus are your present day NCAA farm system into the NBA and NFL. that is your Roman gladiator circus. If you want to flip the inequality of that, son, X-Man. The coaching that we've done for 21 years, football, basketball, volleyball, track and field, swimming, the coaching that we've done is a economic windfall. When you couple it with the life coaching, the breath of life coaching, and the skill development, which they never give these athletes all their lives. All they can do is run, jump, catch. The difference in our league, in our coaching. You will be a quadruple threat when you play in our leagues. The running and the jumping and the catching and all of that when you hit the field, that's just one threat. The brand and the business that you create to capitalize on your brand from the time when you first set foot on the field and identify yourself as the greatest in your position, on your team, in this league. Then off the field, you will have skills to market, to promote, to distribute in areas that you excel in off the court like you excel in on the court, whether it be technology, whether it be media, whether it be acting, whether it be some other arts, modeling, fashion, quadruple threat.
Make that freedom meaning. Freedom without land to cultivate. It's freedom and famine at the same time.
Create jobs for our people.
The Negro is to be free. He must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own emancipation proclamation.
Son, he just said our motto. If our people are going to be free, he must reach down. The 720 with the ink of a pen of self-assertive manhood. Baymac, be about your manhood. Be about your manhood at all costs. Baymac, be about your manhood. Be about your money attached to your manhood at all costs. Baymac. This is the legacy we handed down. I'm gonna pause right now on this one. We'll come back and finish part 2 to this. All right, peace.